Welcome back to CBS This Morning. It's been nearly 3 months since the first coronavirus case was detected in the U.S. Gail, as the pandemic has grown, medical professionals have quickly experienced shortages of the critical supplies that they need.
And they're talking about it too, Anthony. One emergency room nurse at Jacobi Medical Center in the Bronx in New York spoke to 60 Minutes' Bill Whitaker last night. This nurse said it's unacceptable for the richest country in the world to run out of medical equipment.
And I know it's a pandemic, and it's just really hard for us to accept the fact that this is the best that we can do. I wouldn't wish this upon anybody. We're running out of supplies that it's not just the PPE and ventilators. We're running out of IV pumps. We're running out of stuff that we never ran out of before, and it is unacceptable.
Yeah, it doesn't make us sound like a global superpower. And it's another country, China, that produces more personal protection equipment, or PPE, than anyone else in the world. And the Chinese government now says it will impose tougher restrictions on PPE before it's shipped out of the country. Other governments, private companies, and nonprofits, plus profiteers, are competing for those critical medical supplies. Chief Investigative Correspondent Jim Axelrod shows us how buyers in the United States are struggling to get what they need.
We need the masks, the respirators, all the gowns, the gloves.
Aubrey Lane is Virginia's finance secretary, responsible for purchasing his state's supply of PPE, or personal protective equipment.
Right now, Jim, we're buying whatever we can get. It's not enough if the surge hits the way we anticipate it to in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Where are you looking?
The easy answer is we're looking everywhere. Most of these are sourced overseas, particularly out of China.
But in dealing with China, it's buyer beware.
Great. Totally 8 new machines here.
American distributors tell CBS News PPE factories are popping up overnight. Some faking U.S. government approvals by using templates like this one.
We've got to make sure they are real and credible.
Vendors that once excelled churning out everything from cheap watches and children's toys are now hawking highly coveted N95 masks.
We've had one case where we worked with a very reputable supplier, and yet when it got ready to ship, the Chinese government decided to take possession of the goods because they want them to go somewhere else.
Despite widespread shortages, the U.S. has refused to launch a national procurement effort.
The federal government's not supposed to be out there buying vast amounts of items and then shipping. You know, we're not a shipping clerk.
Lane says that's a problem.
There's no really overall coordinated federal strategy for managing that. So we've been told pretty much it's fend for yourselves.
Lane says he's bidding for Chinese product against other states.
Some of the suppliers know this, and so they'll call us up and say, you got to make a decision pretty quickly or it's going to go to someone else.
Suppliers are demanding payment up front. Dealing with taxpayer money, Lane says he needs to make sure he's not being ripped off.
And we're not talking about a couple of $100 we're spending here, are we?
No, we're talking in the millions of dollars typically for shipments.
I give each buyer 15 minutes.
China-based consultant Clive Greenwood represents 3 local manufacturers that he says sell medical supplies, mostly to foreign governments.
There is a massive world demand, and they are just not going to wait for people to dither around.
Competing buyers, he says, are not holding back.
They're going up to factories with truckloads of cash and taking the entire production.
Earlier this month, a shipment of 80,000 masks arrived at this hard-hit hospital in northern New Jersey. The delivery didn't come courtesy of the state health department, but from a nonprofit called Helena. The group is buying up PPE at inflated costs and selling it back to hospitals at its normal price. Henry Elkis is one of the founders.
Sometimes within an hour, the purchases would actually get sniped away by other parties, maybe add a zero to the price and then sell it to hospitals later, or in some cases even hold the product.
How much price gouging is going on?
We see masks that should be under $1 go to $5. It hurts because it's business in some cases and profit motive trumping real lives.
Elkis says he's one of many private donors filling the gap where governments have fallen short.
This is not a project we should be doing. This should be something that is being taken care of by the government.
Virginia's Finance Secretary Aubrey Lane agrees the feds need to step up because he's worried about who he's dealing with.
You don't really know when the orders will be filled or if the orders will be filled?
Hopefully it's more a matter of when and not if, but even that we won't know until the actual planes get here or the cargo gets here.
A U.S. official tells CBS News that while the federal government is not buying PPE directly from China, FEMA is helping private companies fly orders of masks and gloves and gowns from China to hotspots in the United States. Now, another source tells CBS News that most Chinese factories that manufacture PPE will not be taking any new orders until May at the earliest. Tony?
And of course, the stakes couldn't be any higher. Jim Axelrod for us. Jim, thank you very much.